Well, this is a special treat. It's Ask the Experts, the car buying guide. I'm Jill Schlesinger.
I'm Jack Otter.
That was hard for you. You see that bulge in your cheek?
Maybe I shouldn't be
Are you chewing tobacco again?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Mike Quincy is joining us. He is the auto content specialist from Consumer Reports. Let me just read the bio. First of all, hi, Mike.
Hi, guys. How are you?
You're the best. It's awesome. I'm so psyched for this. Okay. Mike joined Consumer Reports in 1993. He's the author of Consumer Reports' first ever blog. That's shocking. He's also responsible for keeping the Consumer Reports database up to date with all the latest automotive facts and figures. If you haven't gone to Consumer Reports and you haven't joined Consumer Reports online, Roland, put this up. You got it. Oh, you're so good. I, of course, am a subscriber, free subscription. And press. Anyway, before I just purchased a car, and before I did it, I went to the website. It was totally easy to use. Fabulous, great comparisons, amazing stuff there. So check it out, consumerreports.org.
We're .org, not a .com.
And org. Let's see. You also review copy for all the automotive publications, the chief correspondent, the media liaison. You get around, baby.
I'm a busy guy.
You are. All right. Well, we also should point out that Mike is the star of this week's Your MoneyWatch piece, which is very exciting. All right, so let's start up with the idea that you basically have the best job of any guy who likes cars, right?
Next to, working for CBS, I think it's the best job.
Don't go crazy. We love it here. What is the process for testing a car at that phenomenal track you have up in Connecticut?
Well, the long and short of it is Consumer Reports goes out and buys its own cars. We spent about $1.5 million buying cars last year alone, so we don't get any freebies from the automakers. After we check in the car, make sure it's running fine, we put some miles on it, then we bring it back to our track. We have a 327-acre facility in Connecticut, and we do a series of tests for acceleration, braking, handling, fuel economy. We check out the seats. We check out how noisy they are, and we live with them day to day. I have small kids, and we take the test cars to the soccer practice, and we carpool, and we go on vacation with them. So we really get an idea of what they're like to live with.
That is so cool. I love that. Jack, you want that job, right?
I do, but I'm interested. So when you're done with the car, do you sell them?
Yep, that's probably the most frequently asked question of all time for consumer. What do you do with the test cars? Actually, what we do is we sell them we put them up for sale with about 500 people that work for Consumer Reports between the track and the home offices in Yonkers, New York. And there's always somebody within that pool of people that will be interested in buying it. And if not, somebody knows somebody that needs one, or if we'll trade it in on another test car. But the cars are in great shape. They only get about 6,000 to 12,000 miles on them. My wife drives an ex-test car.
Oh, even though you have slammed those brakes as hard as they can be slammed.
We only push the cars to the limits that they're designed for.
Right. Excellent.
At least that's the company line. I'm going to use that.
But you have your own car that you drive every day, right?
No, I drive the test cars every day.
No. Oh, so you don't even actually own your own car
Well, I own a 1965 Mustang.
Wow.
That sits in my garage and doesn't get a lot of use, but and sometimes I'll bring home a fancy sports car, a convertible, and I've two boys, they're 7 and 11 years old. They want to ride in Daddy's old Mustang.
That's kind of cool.
They don't want to ride in the hot new cars. They want the old one.
So what's the neatest car that you ever have driven? Like really, what was like the most amazing experience?
So like a newer car?
Yeah.
I am forever amazed at the Chevrolet Corvette.
Really?
I think the Corvette is some of the most fun that you can have. I mean, it's not a cheap car. It's upper $40,000, $50,000, but you're getting 400 horsepower. You're getting performance limits that average people will never even come close to seeing. It's comfortable. It sounds great. It looks great. And I honestly, if General Motors put that much effort into every one of their products, they would rule the world like they used to.
Well, actually, that brings me to a sort of a general question about the industry. That we know that last month was a bad month for the automakers. Sales were the lowest they've been in 28 years. How is the domestic industry doing as a whole?
Well, as a whole, the domestic industry is pretty much bouncing back. I mean, last year we went through the whole cash for clunkers thing, and that helped to make the inventories a little bit leaner. And I think Detroit has gotten a lot more disciplined with their going into, some of them going into bankruptcy and going to the government and getting raked over the coals by the general American public, I think they've gotten down to basics. They've cut overhead. They've made fewer cars. And because of that, they're able to make more money selling fewer cars than they used to. I think that there isn't any more second acts, I think, with Detroit. They either have to get it right or they're going to be finished. There's a lot of people that wanted them to go out of business anyway. Why save them, they all said. I think if they can't pull it off now, everything's going to change.
I think the key stat is that in, what was it, 07, all the 2000s, they were selling about 16 million cars a year. Mm-hmm. Now it's down to 11. And they're making more money. But there was just too much inventory out there. There are too many cars. That's why you got those huge cash back deals and 0% financing and all that.
I mean, the incentives that, come in and buy a car, we'll give you $1,000. All of that cuts into profit margins. So,
but I'll make it up with volume.
Right.
I lose money on every car, but I'll make it up in volume.
They had to get down to basics and figure out how are they going to make money selling fewer cars. They're getting a higher transaction price. Lately, people have been going to the luxury brands. They've been buying SUVs. They've been buying crossovers. They've been buying pickup trucks. And all of these vehicles represent a fatter profit margin for all, not only Detroit, but all the automakers. But you have to keep in mind, gas is relatively cheap right now. You see another spike in gas prices, then they're going to be in a tougher, not as bad as they used to, because Chevrolet's coming out with their new small car called the Cruze. Ford is bringing out their Fiesta. Chrysler is shacking up with Fiat, and all they know how to do is build small cars. so they've got to figure out how to make money selling smaller cars.
And so you mentioned certain types of cars that are selling well. How about brands? What brands are doing well? But either domestic and foreign.
I think Ford is doing very well. Their sales are strong. Chrysler sales are up 14%. Mm-hmm. I think you have to look at Subaru, believe it or not.
Yeah, whoop-de-doo for my Subaru.
Yeah, the beauty of all-wheel drive. How many other ad campaigns can we
I don't know, but I just remember that one.
And you figured Subaru used to be just such a northeastern brand, right, because snow and going skiing and blah, 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 but they're selling greater numbers in other parts of the country. Subaru is one of the companies that almost every year is on, almost all their products are recommended by Consumer Reports.
Wow.
They just need to hire a designer, though. You
think it's
just
too boring?
Not the best looking cars out there.
We're going to we're going to do a whole little section on electric. Because I am fascinated by that, because, I spent last Christmas, I was with my friend from LA, and of course, she's got to have the hybrid, right? Because it's like, you got to have the Prius.
Because she goes to all the red carpet events, right?
It is so, am I dumb? Is it the ugliest car that you've ever seen?
It's distinctive.
That is just that's not what I was going for. It's ugly. It looks like an egg.
But Toyota did a smart thing. When they came out with the Prius, it was this 5-door hatchback design. It wasn't striking, but you knew what it was. That's where Honda fell down in the job. Honda had a Honda Civic hybrid, which is just about as fuel efficient. Talk about being green in the environment. The Honda Civic Hybrid is awesome. The problem is the Civic Hybrid looks like every other Civic out there.
Right.
And I think most of the people that buy a hybrid, they're saying, I'm making a statement. Okay, I've arrived. You're not showing up at the red carpet event driving a Bugatti or a Bentley. You're showing up driving a Prius, which is instantly recognized as a hybrid model.
And you're making that social statement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But Honda now is getting back to, okay, we got to make our fuel efficient cars look funky. So they came out with the Insight, which almost is a carbon copy of the Prius, the way it looks. And they're also coming out with the the CXZ, which is a 2-door. It almost looks like the old CRX, which was a great little sports car that Honda made in the 80s and 90s. They walked away from it. They brought back the 2-door hatchback design for the CRZ. It's a hybrid. Consumer Reports we just bought one. We're going to be testing it soon. But just having a green car, it's not enough. It has to look the part.
It has to look as ugly as the money you're saving. Okay, let's get into some questions. If you've got a question, shoot us an email, asktheexperts@moneywatch.com. We'll be happy to take those. Here we go. I'm considering buying a Honda Odyssey minivan, Jack, in honor of you.
Right.
I know the van is being redesigned for 2011. Should I go ahead and buy a 2010? There seem to be good deals on those. Or should I get a 2011? Mike, what do you think?
People will think that we talked ahead of time and worked out these questions. I swear to God, because
we didn't. This is all spontaneous.
No, this is amazing. One of my coworkers loves Honda Odysseys, and get this, he doesn't even have any kids, but he loves the Odyssey because he's got a trailer, and his 2005 had tons of miles on it, and we had a chance to sample the 2011 Odyssey, the redesigned one.
Okay.
And he drove it. He went out and bought a 2010 leftover.
Oh.
And he wrote a blog about it. He's like, okay, I went to the Honda Odyssey media event with all this anticipation because I love Odysseys. They're the sportiest driving minivans you'll ever imagine. And I drove the new one. I got to tell you guys, I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy leftover 2010. I'm telling you, I swear to my children's lives, we did this.
Don't be swearing on their lives.
To Consumer
Okay,
Reports.
whoa.
Go to Consumer Reports. Go to the blog, and you will find this. You'll find this story. So the answer to the question is yes. Run to the Honda dealer, get a 2010. You'll get a great deal on it, and you'll get a better driving van than the 2011.
Okay,
Sweet.
first of all, I want to say the sportiest minivan is like saying the skinniest linebacker.
Nice.
Okay, but
or the fattest model.
Exactly. Jerry Edgerton, our blogger on cars, actually kind of like the 2011, so it's not unanimous. But I do have an important question here. When you go out this time of year to get that 2010 model, how much discount do you want? My rule of thumb has always been about $3,000 because basically that's the, very generally speaking, the depreciation that you're making in by getting what amounts to a year-old model.
Right, and you're absolutely right about depreciation. The first 5 years of ownership, depreciation is the number one cost when you own a car. In years past, there were a lot more leftover models at the year end. This year, inventory is a lot leaner. You can still find 2010s out there. But if you're the kind of person that wants to buy a new car every 2 or 3 years, you're going to take a big hit on the depreciation. If you're one of the people who drives their cars literally into the ground, it won't matter at all.
Sure.
So
Right.
if you're a long-term owner, I'd say go out and you can cut a great deal on a 2010, especially if the model isn't going to be redesigned for 2011.
A la the Honda.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's still some deals out there, but be honest with yourself how long you're going to keep the car.
Okay, next question from Suzanne. I have a 2006 leased Toyota Matrix. The lease is about to lapse. I think she means expire. And I can purchase the car for $10,000, or I can give it back to buy a new car. I live about 2 miles from work. Maybe she should cycle. And want to have an environmentally responsible car. What would you advise? Well, we don't know how many miles are on her car, right?
I'm sure if she has a lease, there's a cap on how many
Right.
per year she can put on it.
But she's not putting a lot of miles. She lives 2 miles from work.
Yeah,
So
it
should
probably-
she buy it for $10,000 in 2006?
2 miles from work, the Matrix has an excellent reliability record according to Consumer Reports reliability data. It's a very fuel-efficient car. It's well-made. I think in the long run, if she buys this car and drives it for many years, which she probably will be able to because there's not a lot of wear and tear on a 2 mile commute. We should remember this person. We start talking about electric cars, by the way.
Yeah.
I think it would probably be a really good deal. Whether or not $10,000 is a fair enough price, I'd look at the used car buying guides and kind of compare how a Matrix is selling in her area.
Okay.
And let me just ask also, in this case where if you don't pick it up after the lease, they're going to have to sell it as a used car. Do you have some leverage there to knock a little bit off that $10,000?
A little bit, but the car dealers actually make more money selling a used car than a new car.
Really?
Yeah.
That's where their profit centers are. Finance, insurance, servicing. That they make a lot more money doing that than selling a new car.
Wow.
So they'll be when you sign a lease, they're going to structure it to think what is the residual value going to be at the end of the lease,
Right.
with that resale idea in mind.
Right.
Okay.
So, but everything is negotiable.
Sure.
In life. While we are talking about Toyotas, let's throw the question out from Richard. Can you give me your take on the Toyota issues of acceleration and whether or not their current gas pedal fix is a root cause solution or simply a short-term fix to a more systemic problem that is in the Toyota product line? Where are we with our Toyotas?
Well, we are. Consumer Reports is still in a wait and see approach to Toyota. We're still gathering data and looking at the information that's out there. According to government study, they found that the vast majority of the so-called sudden unintended acceleration incidents were driver error. And I would say that Toyota has 50+ years of knowing how to make cars. I think they did have some problems with the pedals and the floor mat placements. I personally don't think that this was an electronics issue. I don't think it was some conspiracy. I don't think it was a pie in the sky thing. I think people were hitting the wrong pedals, or the pedals were getting trapped under the floor mats. So I would venture forth and look at Toyota's. Consumer Reports has still have a. We used to recommend a number of them. We've put that on hold. It's still on hold, but I anticipate that pretty soon we're going to be taking it off. I don't think there's huge risks in buying a Toyota.
Okay, that's good to know. Let's move on. Romana wants to know, this is great, should I follow the instructions and calendar outlined in my maintenance book for my vehicle, or are there maintenance tips that I should amend to them soon or later, not at all, to maximize the efficiency of my vehicle in a cost-effective manner? I have a Volkswagen Golf diesel.
Oh, diesels.
God love you.
Love diesels.
So talk to us about what about the maintenance stuff?
In general, it is in every car owner's best interest to actually read the owner's manual. And if there is a service interval recommended in the owner's manual, I would follow it. I would not necessarily be talked into extra service at the dealer. Basically, the owner's manual rules. If there's any question, that's where you go. A lot of the modern diesels these days are very low maintenance. They tend to run a long time. You have to change the oil like you have to do with any car. Whatever the owner's manual goes with, I would go with that.
Okay, but wait a minute. Can I clarify this once and for all? Maybe ask the dumb chick question. The grade of gasoline. Does it really matter or not? Tell the truth right now. The hot lamp is on you.
That's another frequently asked question.
Yeah, of
course. Actually, again, you have to refer to your owner's manual.
Oh, come on!
Honestly,
wait a minute.
Because the car makers know what is optimum for their engine. For example, BMW will tell you right up front, requires premium gas.
Right.
All right.
I
would
believe
if
that.
if I bought a BMW and they make a lot of nice cars,
Yep.
I would put premium in it.
Okay.
If it says you might get slightly better performance with premium, but regular is okay, I'd get regular. Unless it says required, I wouldn't go for premium.
Is there a German car maker that doesn't say premium?
No. Yeah. Volkswagen.
Oh, Volkswagen.
Yes, there are some
Okay.
Volkswagens that don't require premium.
All right.
They require diesel. No.
And with Mercedes, am I right in thinking that the spark plug in some of the cars fires twice, and so therefore you need the extra whatever it is in
well,
the
you
93?
need the extra octane,
Octane,
but I mean all the modern vehicles have all these computers that sense the octane and it can sense what's going on with the spark and the compression and whatnot, and will adjust things accordingly. It's not like the old days where you'd bog your engine down or something
Gotcha.
like that. But the key word is required. If it says required, put it in. If it doesn't say required, forget it. And usually there would be a little sticker where by the fuel filler.
Right there.
That would say
right.
premium required. Then I'd put it in. But it does say required, I wouldn't bother with it.
All right. William asked like 5,000 questions, so let me call it into a couple here. Are dealers seeing more business in the way of new car sales or servicing older vehicles in the current economy?
I think in the last, well, at least since 2008, they've probably seen a lot more older vehicles. I think with the economy the way it is, people are holding on to their cars and they're saying, listen, we usually get a new car every couple of years. I'm uncertain about keeping my job, so let's go hold on to the old one. If something fixed on it, let's get it taken care of. I would say that I think we're slowly getting out of that a little bit.
And I know, Jack, you have a question because we have a story on the site about new versus used cars, right?
Jerry wrote for us about how in some cases with you say year-old cars that hold their value pretty well, but if you buy them a year old, you're going to have to get financing probably either from the bank or at not such favorable rates. Whereas in some cases, you're getting the 0% financing from BMW on a Dodge Ram also and a couple other cars. Mm-hmm. So he did the math and he found he actually saved about $700 by buying the new car with 0% financing versus financing the old one. Have you seen that a lot?
I think whenever there's a 0% financing deal, you have to look at it carefully. There might be a certain amount of money that you have to put up front, or there might be some big lump sum payment due. at the end. Or I mean, I don't think there's necessarily a free ride, but you have to look. Consumer Reports will always tell you, look at the fine print. Another alternative for financing could be a credit union.
Yes,
So,
we
so
love
you
that.
you might be able to get a competitive rate there. But just as you shop around for what kind of car to buy, you also can shop around for financing.
Sure.
We got to talk a little bit about the electric car thing. Because I don't know why. I really feel like this is Fred Flintstone is plugging that little car in. Okay, well, I'm not going to use my feet. I'm going to use my, all right. And Megan wants me to make sure that I play our cool Tesla video while I do that. So there it is. It's totally cool. And this is a sweet looking ride. Right?
Right. For $110,000.
Oh, you know what?
It sure better be.
I scoff at your details.
It's a two-seater.
Are we going to be driving
it's six
these?
figures.
But all right. Are we going to all be driving electric cars in the next X years?
Not in the next 5 years. Probably
really?
not in the next 10 years.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Wow.
I think in the short run, you will see a number of electric cars coming out.
I saw Mini Cooper's got one, right?
Cooper
A hybrid.
Mini Cooper has one. We have a story about that on our website. The Chevrolet Volt, which is a plug-in hybrid gasoline mix, and then the Nissan Leaf is coming out. I think there will be an immediate rush of the early adopters that will be just dying to be the first one in the neighborhood to have one of these. I think the appeal of when the smart car came out, for example, the tiny little model by Mercedes. Everyone was just standing in line to buy them, and a couple of years later, they can't give them away.
Now, why is that?
Because the price of gas went down.
I know, but really, it's $10,000. Okay, for a smart car, right?
No,
whatever, 12.
It's
15.
15 to 18, depending on the options.
Oh,
that you
18
get.
is real.
You
Like
can get a
12
Mini
grand.
car, a Mini Cooper for that.
Yeah, exactly. I drove a Mini for 7 years, so I love my little Mini.
The smart car was very. It got a lot of attention, but I think the first electrics will get a lot of attention.
And I just want to point out, oh my God, the guy's choking.
Sorry.
He's unbelievable. Roland, put this up because there's this very cool thing on the website about a guide to alternative fuels and different models and videos. So there's all this stuff right on the Consumer Reports. They do a nice video a Prius, the standoff of the socially responsible, the Prius versus the Insight.
You know, speaking of electric, I think what doesn't get enough love, I'll be interested to see what Mike thinks, are diesels. I mean, I'm a shout out to Romanoff and his or her diesel Golf. I love Golfs, but I also think diesels, you know, the mileage is way up there, and now this technology from Germany is much cleaner.
The diesels, however, they're still faced with more expensive fuel,
Which is unusual, right?
I'm sorry. Yes, it's unusual because in Europe it is cheaper, and there's incentives to buy for people to buy diesels. Yeah, regular petrol is taxed at a higher rate. So
what if you do the electric car? Because I read in Consumer Reports, oddly enough, I was reading the car part of it. You know, I'm a girl. I don't usually read that part, but I was interested in the electric. What is that thing that it takes 8 hours to charge your car, but there's something you can buy that charges it in 4 hours? Is that that device?
That's part of the cost. In other words, to get a dedicated 220 volt socket, a charging station at your house, will still set you back about $2,000 on top of the $33,000 to $40,000 that the early electric vehicles are going to cost you. So you also have to live in a place where you can plug in your car. If you're in the city, most people in the city can't run a long extension cord from their apartment.
I'm in 12D now. How am I going to get this down there?
I mean, with any approach, there's good news and bad news.
Right.
The good news is you're not going to a gas station. The good news is you have no tailpipe emissions.
Right.
The bad news is they're pretty expensive. They might take anywhere from 3 to 8 hours to charge up. They are only going to go anywhere from 40 to 100 miles on electric-only charging. So again, if you're the Matrix buyer who only has 2 mile commute, I mean that would be perfect for you.
But don't you think she should get a bicycle? Really?
Well,
I mean that's
or
silly.
walk or something.
Right, exactly.
Like that. But from an economic standpoint,
Yeah.
and this is something that Consumer Reports I think does pretty well. Is we'll cut through the hype and we'll say, okay, crunching dollars, dollar for dollar. What are you getting for this? And really, when you think about it, A $25,000 Toyota Prius is going to get you 44 miles per gallon.
Right.
And how long does it take you to fill up your car at a gas station? 5 minutes?
Yeah.
So you have to think of the amount of time and the amount of energy that you're getting in the time that you're putting into the vehicle. And it makes more economic sense, really, to drive a Prius. Now, when the price of gas goes up to $5 a gallon,
Yeah, I was going to ask you at what price.
the electrics are going to make a lot more sense. And then you're going to have a lot of people going for electric and saying, oh, I want to do this because it's environmentally sound. However, if you're like me and like us, who live in the Northeast, you're getting most of your electricity from a coal-fired plant, which do not have very good emissions. So you're saying, oh, I don't have any tailpipe emissions on my car, but you got huge tailpipe emissions on the coal-fired plant. And also the lithium-ion batteries that all these electrics have are not very recyclable. So what do you do with it when it's used up? So what is your carbon footprint? You know, in an aggregate here, okay, in the big picture. They do make sense in some ways, but in other ways they also don't make sense.
Okay.
And again, they're very expensive for a pretty small car.
So you say, but as a rule, can I feel smug? I want permission. Can I feel smug when I see a guy driving a Lexus on the LIE that is like $80,000 hybrid Lexus? Because it's insanity.
That's about $110,000.
$110,000, and the comparable other Lexus is whatever, 90, 80. Is that guy an idiot? Please tell me yes. I want to look over and say, you idiot.
Well, it doesn't make economic sense.
Well, that's what I want to know.
He's not going to make up the money that he's charging. He's not going to make up for the premium that he's spending to get the hybrid Lexus LS over the regular LS anytime soon.
All right, let me ask you a more important question. Since my brother-in-law owns a Toyota Highlander hybrid, I got into a huge fight with him, and I said, there's no way that makes sense. I tried to crunch the numbers. I said, it doesn't make sense. It couldn't possibly, for the corresponding increased cost of having hybrid on the back of your car versus the price of gas, and that was when gas was like at $3.89 or something.
Right.
Couldn't make sense, right?
Yes. You actually win that
Mark,
argument.
you lose.
Because it will take you 12 to maybe 20 years at current gas prices to make up for the premium that you're paying in saved fuel costs. But Consumer Reports has been saying this for years, and when hybrids got really big in like 2001, 2002, and we crunched the numbers, and we said, listen, guys, from a dollar for dollar, these don't make sense. And people get so angry at us because they said, you're missing the point. I want to burn less gas.
Okay.
I want to send fewer of my dollars to Shell and Exxon and Mobil and all the rest of them. That's why I'm not driving a hybrid to save money. I'm driving it because I want to burn less fuel.
Okay.
And I can respect that. I can understand. But economically, no, you're absolutely right. My wife loves the Highlander hybrid.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful family vehicle.
Yeah.
It really is.
It does freak me out. They make no noise. And so I have almost, when I back the car up out of my driveway to like move cars around, I'm like, this is freaky.
Do you know how, the expression, no good deed goes unpunished? Well, because the hybrids are burning less gas and we're happy about that, the people that have hearing problems are angry at hybrid owners because they're backing out of the parking lot in the grocery stores. And they're not making any noise.
And they're going to have to manufacture
and
some
so
noise,
it's like, you have to make them, car makers spend their lifetimes trying to make cars quieter, and now they've got to make them noisier.
I love it. All right.
So no one in Detroit has their hair.
I know, right? So you had this thing up here on your blog. This is from a couple of years ago, the Honda FCX concept car. We got a question about that. This is from Jim. Honda is currently doing market experiments with the FCX. It offers the advantages of an electric car, but can be refueled quickly like a regular car instead of being plugged in for many hours. When can we expect to see general availability of such vehicles? I'm
laughing that, what was the line? Can be fueled just as easily?
Just as easily, my friend.
How many? Okay, the FCX.
Be careful.
Sorry.
This is a family show.
Isn't it like satellite radio?
Yeah.
Okay. How many hydrogen fuel filling stations do you have in your neighborhood?
Yeah, not a lot.
Okay.
Not a lot.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
So if there were as many hydrogen stations as there are gas stations, then yes, you might have something here. The problem is the chicken and the egg. So the car companies say, well, we're not going to build lots of hydrogen fuel cells because there isn't an infrastructure in place to fill up the cars. And the people that own the filling stations say, well, we're not going to invest in hydrogen tanks and fill up places until there's cars.
Right.
So there has to be a breakthrough eventually. And a number of years ago, we talked about hydrogen being the next big thing. And I think it definitely has potential, but probably not for 20 years.
Wow.
I think you will see a lot more efficiencies in the old-fashioned internal combustion engines with direct injection, with materials that weigh a lot less, with smaller, more efficient turbocharging, with diesels. I think that's where you're going to see the greatest gains. I mean, it's good that they're working on this. And if they started working on this after the 1973 Arab oil embargo,
wow, we'd be in great shape.
Yeah, we would be way ahead of these things.
Yeah.
But the America's drug of choice, honestly, is cheap gasoline.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking, compared to the rest of the world.
And high fructose corn syrup. Don't forget about that.
We should learn. Yeah.
Sugar.
Which is now being
corn
used
sugar.
in some gas tanks.
E85 ethanol. On corn. Which is, don't even get me started on that. That was supposed to be the silver bullet too, but that
not happening.
No, not at all.
Okay, can we end on a happier note? Because now I think all of our green enthusiasts, and they don't expect it from me, but from you, they want to hear some good news.
I'm happy. I've stopped coughing.
Oh, well, thank God. You're ruining the whole podcast, for God's sakes.
Sorry.
Listen, Mike.
Never going to be as
what
back.
No, we love you. What is the encouraging thing? That, like, we're getting more fuel efficient in the regular old crap cars that we drive. Mm-hmm. The electric stuff is moving along. It's like 5 to 10 years away.
Well, they're going on sale at the end of 2010 and early 2011.
But it's going to be expensive, and it may not.
They're
going to
be expensive. They're not going to be mainstream, but they're here now. But
for you
I'm sorry,
smug
go ahead.
environmentalists who have money to burn, I spend it on shoes. Go buy a car.
Yeah.
Jack, what is the first car that you drove?
Volkswagen Golf. I'm a big Golf fan.
Really?
Yep.
And do you miss it?
I do in some ways.
It's a sweet
yeah,
car.
I like the Golf.
What was the first car you drove, Mike?
1974 Chevrolet Vega.
Nice.
Oh,
Sweet. I drove
I kid you not.
I drove my dad's 7-year-old Toyota Celica, 1974 Toyota Celica.
That was
with
actually a decent car.
a sweet 8-track tape player.
Oh, boy.
We had an AM radio.
Nice.
But I think what you're getting at is where are we today, and where are we going in the automotive? And honestly, today these are the good old days. I think cars today are so much better than they've ever been. I mean, you asked me, what's the greatest car? I mean, a 400 horsepower Corvette can get 25 miles per gallon on the highway. Yeah. I mean, in the 1970s, maybe the Corvettes were getting 170 horsepower and they stunk. Mm-hmm. Today's cars are more efficient. They're safer. Consumer Reports has long been a big fan of stability control, head curtain airbags. They're more fun to drive. They're reliable. Consumer Reports used to have a test. It was called starting and running. You laugh. But the old cars in the 70s, sometimes they wouldn't even start.
Very good.
And we don't do that test anymore because they all start. They all run great.
My God.
I mean, even the cars at the lower spectrum of Consumer Reports ratings, they're still worlds better than anything we had 20, 30, 40 years ago.
That's good to know. I like that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a good way. All right,
it's a great time to be a car guy.
You are a car guy. You are a car guy. 2 car guys. I'm not. I'm a shoe gal. This is our last question from Carol. With 1 of every 2 households owning pets, pay attention.
Yeah.
Why don't more car manufacturers recognize the pet traveler market? For goodness sakes.
Some do.
It. The only car company who used to have a vehicle, the Toyota 4Runner, with a back window that the driver could control up or down from the driver's seat, not even sure if they still make one. Everyone else has put in fixed windows. Seems dumb to not take advantage of the fact that buyers like me won't trade up until someone puts one of those puppies on the market.
Yeah, you don't want your car to be a dog, so.
Yeah, exactly. Done. What about the Poochie? What are we doing with Poochie?
Some car companies actually are pet friendly. Honda, for example, has a model called the Element, which is a small kind of boxy.
Oh, that's a funny looking car.
Thing. But they have a bunch of dog accessories like a ramp, like when your dog is older, and you can't really get up in the car, and they get this little ramp they built in. Subaru has a pet container system for the back of their Outback and Forester SUVs, so you can keep the dog in the cargo area. There are a number of automakers that are pet sensitive, so we can maybe. Again, we got to offend somebody, so we're going to offend the car owners that love their dogs.
I love it.
So, but there are a number of accessories out there, and I think the automakers realize that the dog business is huge, and so they're going to cater to that. But the rear window going down, and a couple models have that. I think the new Toyota 4Runner SUV has a retractable
So what if your kid
rear
falls
window.
out? Your dog is going to be happier.
Well, you remember the station wagons in the 70s.
Totally.
The Buick station wagon, yeah.
Forget it.
And that was a safety issue? That's why they stopped that?
I think it was more a packaging, the fact that wagons morphed into minivans, which does not have the retractable rear window. There are fewer wagons on sale nowadays. Sure. But yes, certainly from a clean air perspective, because the aerodynamics of the vehicle will make the air kind of swirl behind, and the exhaust will kind of go into. But I don't think that's the reason why they don't have them anymore.
What a nice feature that was.
Yeah.
All right, here's your last question. If price were no object, Mike Quincy, superstar king of Consumer Reports, the czar of all things cars, the car czar right here, what would you buy? Really, if no price, you don't have to think twice about the money. And you're so rich you don't care about efficiency. You just, what is the coolest car that you would buy?
It's when the lottery is in the insane
lottery.
numbers. Like, oh, gosh. Like
a Ferrari or something?
I have to answer your question to the question. Is this a car that has to be everything... it has to have the kids. It has to be... No.
I'm just like, this
personal
is
car
your
for me.
fantasy car.
A fantasy car for me?
Is this a Ferrari?
Oh
my God, he's getting so excited.
Oh, gosh. How much time do we have? Do we have a couple hours to talk about this? I love light and agile sports cars. I love Mazda Miatas. I love Corvettes.
Oh, yeah.
I love the new Mustang GT and the Shelby Mustang.
Get more... Just go out there. What is the car you want?
I think that for stupid money,
dumb money.
I think I really liked the Mercedes SL 500.
How much is that? Like 110?
It's about 110. And
you
again,
can get 10 smart cars.
This is sort of weird because you think it's kind of more like an old man's car.
It's a cruiser, dude.
I've retired. I'm going to the golf club. I'm going to take the Mercedes.
Very good.
But it is so comfortable, and it has this unique wind blocker system. So you put the top down, and the wind doesn't make your head hurt after 15 minutes on the highway. It's got a great, smooth, powerful V8 engine. It's got great steering. But again, it's sporty, but it's also really comfortable, and it is ridiculous money. But it's intoxicating. And even if you get the AMG Mercedes, which is like the Mercedes hot rod on steroids, and let's stop by Starbucks and get some caffeine for it. They've got these great big bellowing exhaust notes and acceleration that will just make your eyes water. And the Mercedes makes some very hot V8 powered cars. And
look at the smile on this guy's face. I mean, he is like frothing at the mouth right now. All right, Jackson, price is no object. What are you going to buy?
I don't know the whole universe as cars as well.
Whatever.
Mercedes engineering is pretty amazing. What would I want?
So excited.
Gosh,
look at that. They're like little children. It's amazing.
And we'll talk to you about shoes in just a minute.
I know.
I might just settle for a BMW 3 Series with 4-wheel drive. Those are pretty nice. Yeah.
Whatever.
Great.
Oh my God.
I should say I've driven a 911
a very good choice.
A long time ago, and it was an 80s vintage probably, and that was awfully nice. I actually sort of had control of it for almost a year. And no, Porsche 911.
I know.
That's pretty crazy.
That's good. You know what?
Nice.
I'm saying Ive about myself because I had a former business partner who had a Porsche 911, and I am not kidding you. I turned into my mother on the spot after he got it. I'm like, "Oi, this is so low. Like it's very low to the ground. Oh my God!
How do you fit in this thing?"
It's I think that I would probably go for like that 2-seater Mercedes coupe thing because I saw that in the showroom and it was sweet. Although I did quickly figure out that that's a lot of shoes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the trunk because it has a retractable hardtop. So when you put the hardtop down, there's not a lot of trunk space. So you take it shoe shopping, you'll have issues.
It's bad. All right, you are Mike Quincy, who is the master of everything car. Thank you so much for joining us on Ask the Experts. You are fantastic. You'll come back?
I'd love to come back.
We'd love to have you back because it's so much fun and we get such great stuff. And listen, if you go to the Consumer Reports website, consumerreports.org, you'll see all the stuff that Mike talked about, the blogs. There's really cool stuff. I mean, I'm not a car person. I love reading this. I really do. 1 year after the Toyota recalls. This is all good stuff. So check it out. And, of course, you can check out our stuff at MoneyWatch.com because we have our great car blogger, Jerry Edgerton, and there's always good stuff on there. So, Mike, thank you so much for joining us. It really has been so much fun. And Jack, any parting words? Vroom, vroom.
Stop at stop signs. I guess that's
stop at stop signs.
Wear your seatbelt.
Wear your seatbelt.
Don't text and drive.
Yeah, exactly. And for and cab drivers in New York City, I know I'm not supposed to make this New York City centric. It's against the law to talk on your phone, even with a headset. All right?
Good.
That's it. It's
Good.
against the law, so don't do it. There you go. And no one else should either. Thank you so much. You're the best. I'm Jill
my
Schlesinger.
pleasure.
I'm Jack Otter.
And you've been watching Ask the Experts. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.
Get that car, and I'm gonna head on down the road. Yeah, then I won't have to worry about that broken down ragged Ford. I want 4 carburetors and 2 straight exhausts.